This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, today on the podcast, my beautiful best friend and partner in life / my wife, Michelle, is on the thing today. What's up, dude?
Hello, dude. Hey, bro.
Hey, bro. Dude, what was that story about me calling you bro and you yelled at me saying, I'm not your bro?
I don't remember.
So
I think you like punched me in the shoulder, like, yeah, like you do with the boys or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not your bro. Don't do that.
I use bro and dude as very genderless terms. Dude is pretty easy to get away with because people are like, oh, okay. Yeah. Bro, less socially acceptable when you're talking to a girl. But nowadays with all the genders, who cares, right? Yeah, Pick one. What are you today?
You can call me whatever you want.
We'll just go with names. And then your personality.
Okay.
So this podcast is being released on our 20th anniversary, June 24th.
Happy anniversary, babe.
Thank you, my love. And isn't this wild? It's actually before Father's Day we're recording this. Yeah. And a couple of days after that's our 20-year anniversary.
Yeah.
We made it.
We did.
What do you think about being married for 20 years?
It is weird because when we got married, you see people that were our age, the age that we are now, and you thought they were super old. And
yeah.
like, that's going to be crazy when we're at that stage of life now, we're there and I don't feel old.
Yeah. I've moved the goalpost on people being old to 90.
Yeah.
Or else I'm going to keep on playing
on
this.
their deathbed.
Yeah, I'm going to play this game every 10 years where I'm like, oh shit, I was old. He was old. I was old. I was actually thinking that last night when we were hanging out with our kids. So we do family sleepovers in our room on Thursday nights if we're in the mood. But it's supposed to be everything.
We don't have other plans.
Yeah, we don't have other plans. But our littlest Harper is always about us doing this. We do it most of the time, but so we have these pads that we bring up into our room. So we throw 2 to 3 pads on the floor, and we sleep on our bed, and the kids sleep all over the place. And it's actually really fun because they bring down all their pillows and all their squishmallows and 3 or 4 blankets.
Ordeal.
I mean, you would literally think there's 40 people in this room having a sleepover, but it's just us and 3 little kids.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's fun. But sorry. So I lost my train of thought. I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, I wonder if these guys think we're old.
Yeah,
and it kind of like pisses me off if they do.
I think they do.
Well, of course, yeah.
I think they do. Well, and I was asking them yesterday. I'm like, do you think it's weird your parents are getting tattoos? Like that's going to be something that they're going to remember.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
And so, I think that probably seems a little weird. That their parents are going through these midlife crises right now. Yeah,
I like our midlife crisis so far. It's been okay. At least the tattoo part's kind of fun.
Yeah.
We waited till 40 before we got our first tattoos. Were you 40 when you got your first?
No, I was 39.
You're 39? Yeah.
And a half.
So Michelle and I got matching roses on our thumbs because roses are the June flower. Michelle's really into flowers. If you're watching the video on this, you can see. We literally just got tatted this week, and Michelle got a half sleeve done of. Well, why don't you explain it?
I wanted something floral. This tattoo artist that I went to is really good with roses. So I got 2 roses, which I guess could be Mark and I. Because it is the June flower. And then I got the Cosmos flower for October for our daughter, violet flower for our son, and then gladiolus flower in there for our other daughter, our youngest.
Absolutely. And then a snake.
And then a snake, yeah. Just to make it not so, florally, I guess. Yeah. We put a snake in there.
Yeah, put a little seduction in there or whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny, we talk about these tattoos before we get them, but the real process is you find a tattoo artist that you just love their work, and then you tell them an idea, and then they just come up with something, and then you kind of just accept what they come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, you can change a few things, but I mean, like me, right? Like I've got a mermaid on my arm now that looks like a really sexy Ariel, and I love it, and it's sitting on a rocket shooting into space, and I've got an astronaut, and I've got Michelle's face, and I've got little things for my kids all over the place, and a skull that's happy, and I don't know. I've got an arm full of tattoo that I feel like kind of explain me. Like, one of the things I just tattooed on is a saying that that we say to each other is "me and you against the world," and it's on my wrist now, and I get to look at it every single day. And we commissioned a painting and had a bunch of our sayings put in it, and and it's just nice because it's just us, and I don't give a shit if people understand it or care.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what's been the best part about being married in the first 5 years? What was your favorite part?
You and I waited 5 years. So our 5-year anniversary, I would have been pregnant with our first child. So we waited. Is that right?
I think so. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, because
so
Bray
we
will turn
waited.
15 this year.
So we waited not quite a while, but we waited. We didn't have kids right away. And that time period was really beautiful for us because we were young when we got married anyway. And so it was a beautiful time for us to really get to know one another, watch other people and what they did with their kids, how they, structured things, how they disciplined their kids, all of that stuff, and kind of see things that we liked and wanted to incorporate and things that we didn't like. And so what was your original question?
What was your favorite part of the first?
Favorite part was just being able to do whatever we wanted and be best friends. And we just realized and found hobbies and things that we liked to do together. And
yeah, I actually liked, I feel like we have gone through the phases and just done really well, like almost all of them, right? Like our first 5 years, like we were pretty poor, right? Like I was going to college. You went to college for a couple semesters and ended up stopping college to make more money so we could survive. I mean, I was making $11 an hour when we got married. You making like 8 or 10 or something like that?
Yeah, I did at one point make more than you.
You did, yeah. There was 1 year that Michelle made more money than me. That was weird. I was knee deep in the college.
But also I think it was this really foundational time period where we both kind of figured out what we needed to do in order to build this life that we wanted and kind of figure out where we were going to help and where we were going to be in that process.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I like that I like that we went through a phase where we didn't have that much money because it forced us to go to movies, at matinees on Saturday, which I loved. It's also back when movies were good. Movies suck now. Yeah. They've sucked for years, but
Mark and I took a class once together, like an ethics and values or something.
Yeah, ethics and values.
On a Saturday. So it was like a Saturday morning class, and then Mark, you had other classes on Saturday, so I would come home. And I came home to our condo one Saturday, and I opened the door. It was like an apartment, so we were on the second floor.
Yeah.
And I opened the door, and a bird came flying out of the house and almost hit me in the head. And I was like, what in the hell was that? And there was 2 other birds inside of our house that had chewed through our dryer vent.
And got into the freaking house. But how many dead birds were in that line?
Oh, that was so disgusting.
Like 50 or 60. We don't really know. Did we pay someone to clean it out or we clean it out?
We cleaned it out. Pay someone to clean it out.
That's what I mean. We live different lives now.
That's 20-year anniversary shit, babe.
Yeah, that's when I didn't turn the lights on in the morning. So
yeah.
I'd eat breakfast in the dark so we didn't have to have high utilities. Saving myself $7.
We also, in that condo, we got super sunburned because we had gone boating with my family and it was an overcast day. So we were like, sweet. And we were just in hoodies and stuff. And we got so sunburned. Yeah. And it was that night that our air conditioning went out and we were just we almost got divorced that day.
Yeah. We get close to getting divorced when we're both sunburned and hungry.
Don't touch me. Stop.
No, that was horrible because we didn't control a lot of that stuff, right? Because it was a HOA kind of situation, and what ended up happening didn't it take like 2 days for us to actually get the AC fixed, and it was like 85 degrees in our house. Which, if anyone knows me, I don't go past 72 unless I start getting really pissy and stuff because it's just too hot. But it was wild.
Yeah.
There's one that I was going to bring up something else about that time in our life that was kind of fun, but I don't know. We used to go to church back then. So like we'd go to church, we'd do like home teaching, and like we had callings. We'd go to the temple all the time. So, it's kind of like the poor man's version of like going out with your wife.
What our date was.
Pretty inexpensive. Hit the cafeteria, think that I'm like being exalted.
Let me supersize my meal on my anniversary.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was fun.
Thank you.
Pot roast days, and I don't know. I can't remember all the details of that, but no, it was great, and we turned the page at 5 years and had kids, which was a wild experience. I'm actually still mad about my response to you telling us that you were pregnant. So Michelle had made me a scrapbook, if you guys remember this. In fact, you tell the story.
So we were trying to get pregnant, and I was coming off of birth control. And so it took quite a while because I'd been on birth control for a long period of time. And so I think we had hit like 9-month mark of us, being off birth control. And so I started making this scrapbook of just the first 5 years of us being together as in preparation for when I found out I was pregnant. And at the end of this scrapbook, I was going to announce it. So Mark he had school after work in the evenings. So I would go sit at this like scrapbook shop after I got off work and work on it for a couple of hours. And so I found out I was pregnant right before Valentine's Day. And so I gave it to Mark for Valentine's Day. And, he's going through it. He looks through the whole thing, comes to the last page, and it was a picture of me. I can't remember what it was. It was like
you were just holding
like,
the tester. Like a
saying
fun,
that we're pregnant, and he didn't believe me. Like he started pacing the room. What were you saying? What was the thing you kept?
Are you serious?
Saying? Are you serious? Yeah. Are you serious? And I was like, yeah, you're starting to make me feel weird about this.
Yeah, I had a weird reaction to that. I was like, I was not excited, but it wasn't like I wasn't excited. I was just like, wait, what? Like you're actually pregnant. Are you serious? You're dead serious. And I just kept on thinking it was a joke. And all I could think about was, this is so expensive. This is so expensive. How am I going to pay for all this? We got a kid coming now. Like, this is real. We can't just like, have $3 in our bank account anymore. We have to like be responsible. And I think I just had an overwhelming responsibility wave hit me, I guess. Yeah. And, which is funny, right? Because, now that we've had kids, and it's not that big a deal, right? Like, life's just not that big a deal. You just make it work, especially when you have a really good, spouse.
Yeah.
Just make it work.
And I think that first time, it doesn't really feel real. I mean, it didn't to me either. Yeah. Like, this pregnancy test is telling you that you go to your first appointment and you like hear the heartbeat and you're like, oh, okay, this feels a little more real. But
even at that point, like, your body hadn't changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you weren't acting any different. Spoiler alert for those out there, the women act a lot different when they're pregnant. A lot of hormones rolling through them. But I was talking to Jonah just the other day, who one of my really good friends, and he is having his first baby. And I tell him, I'm like, one of the things that no one actually says to you is they talk about postpartum, but they talk about postpartum in like the most extreme cases where the mom's like mad at the baby or will shake the baby or like this kind of stuff. So you got to watch out for all these signs. And I was like, Jonah, what they're not actually telling you is every woman's postpartum, all of them, right? And it goes for a while, it goes for months. So what you really have to be mentally prepared for is just to be okay with stuff.
Right.
Right. If she's mad at you over something, don't hit her with the same energy. Just realize that she's just birthed a baby, and like now her body's trying to like stabilize all the hormones, and it's probably still dropping hormones. And if she breastfeeds, there's more of it coming. Like there's just a lot. So you just be steady and orderly and just help her. And
it is very overwhelming. It is very overwhelming to, you see people have babies and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's going to be so fun when I hit that stage of life or whatever. And then you get there and there's no instruction. They hand you a baby 2 days after you've had it at the hospital and make sure your car seat is properly buckled in your car, and then you're off.
Yeah.
To do whatever you want.
I was going to say the only official thing they do is make sure you click your baby in a car seat. Outside of that, they're just like, peace, on to the next baby.
Yeah.
But
so
it was fun.
It's a lot. You want to do it well. I mean, most parents, they want to do it well. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And
it's all, trial and error kind of thing.
Yeah, it's funny, before you got here today, I was talking, so Dakota, one of our other good friends, is the producer today. Here at the studio, and he's getting married in September, and I was talking about having kids because I was like, how soon are you guys gonna have kids, right? Because they're a little bit older and they're ready to have kids, and he's like, no, we're gonna wait like 7 or 8 months and then we'll start officially trying at that point. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool, man. And I just said to him, and I'm honest with this, I'm like kids are the best because they bring you like all this joy and happiness, and I'm like, it's cool, dude, because it's like your DNA, right? And then it's like they act like you and they have a similar personality, but they're also different because they can think for themselves. And like all your happiness just kind of comes from that, like watching them and mentoring them. And like you find fulfillment and joy in like so many little ways. And I'm like, that's why people say all the time, what brings you the most joy? And they say, my family. Even if the family's messy, right? The good parts are really, really good, right? And really the downsides are, the bad parts aren't that big a deal, but at least so far for us. But yeah, I don't know. You feel the same way?
Yes. I would say, among my very top memories with you is that, like that experience of bringing a child into the world, and we're holding this little baby that we've made. Yeah. And, it brings a whole new level of love.
Yeah.
To watch you be a dad, and that's like never ending also. It was beautiful watching you be a dad to babies, and it's just as beautiful to watch you like give instruction now to a 14-year-old daughter.
Yeah. And it's fun too, because I feel the same way. Like the thing that's interesting about being married for 20 years is Michelle and I really fell in love on our very first date with each other, and we're just kind of one of those anomalies, but it's so much different now. It was different 5 years in, it was different 10 years in. And it's just because it's this ever expanding, like snowball going down this hill because of those types of experiences. Like I get to see Michelle be a mom, and I get to see Michelle be a wife and a mom, and then interact with other people. And like, I don't know, for me personally, with you specifically, I just have so much respect for you for the way that you carry yourself through life. And, if you've listened to our podcast before on here, Michelle's homeschools our kids, and it's not easy and it's not hard either to do that. But it's such a benefit to them. And I don't know, I just see you in so many different angles now. And I probably see all of you. When you first get married, you can't see all of people because you just don't have the experiences. So as you start stacking experiences, you just fall deeper and deeper in love.
Yeah. Great.
Anyways, I love you, Michelle.
I love you, Mark.
Very, very much. We've been very excited to like kind of do this podcast, and we've been talking about it because I normally don't prep for anything, and we didn't really prep for this either.
I am a prepper, so.
So let me ask you a question, since I'm the interviewer, I guess, in this podcast. What's your what are some of your favorite memories? Highlight each one of our kids right now. Gonna lock those moments in time.
Favorite memories? I'm gonna tell about each one of my kids, because I have unlimited favorite memories of them. Brea is our 14-year-old, and she has always been this very animated little girl. Like, she would animate and create these scenes from like Disney movies when she was little. Like, there was one time we were at the grocery store, and she was super into Tangled at the time. And so she started screaming this line and was like, "You're not my mother," or whatever the heck Tangled Rapunzel says in the movie. And I was like, shut up. Like, this is not the day and age when you can just yell that stuff. And then I'd grab her arm and she'd like, fight away from me. And I'm like, oh my God. So
it's like, they will separate us here, Brad, if you keep yelling that.
You are going to lose your mom.
Yeah, you're going somewhere not as pleasant as our home, I promise.
And really that's just carried. Like, she is just a very creative person. She's very into making movies, and they're hilarious. And she's writing this book that she's writing
7 books.
I don't even know how many chapters she's into this book already. And
8. I just asked her last night. And she's got 36 chapters per book, and she's 8 chapters in, and she's going to write 7 books, and she has the whole thing mapped out, and it's actually really impressive.
Yeah, it is. And she's just always been extremely intelligent, and just, she's very much like you. And what else do I want to say about Brea? She's just always a beautiful person. She really is always very in tune with what's going on. And if, I'm not okay or any of those things, but she's always been a very good oldest sibling. I think one thing about my kids that I will brag about is they all have a very beautiful relationship with each other. Like, my kids are fine to hang out with themselves, with each other all the time.
Yeah.
And they bring friends in and out or whatever, but they still are even hanging out with each other as their friends are over.
Well, one of the funniest things with Nixon and Brea particularly, right, is if Nixon's pissed at Brea, right, over something, or Brea's just like thugged him a little bit or something, right? Like, if I go, he could be upset, crying or whatever, right, or just upset, and I'd be like, "Who's your best friend?" He's like, "Brea." It's like it is. That's his best friend, And there's a lot of times with our kids where we're always on the same page, but when they fight, I get livid with them. Mm-hmm. That's like the one thing, and I always put them down. I'm like, "Guys, listen, there are 3 of you guys. Eventually your mom and dad will not be here anymore, and then you have you 3, right? After that, hopefully it extends to your children, but right now, these are the 3, and you guys are going to get along. I don't care what you guys think." And it's not that they don't get along. I mean, that's a very rare occurrence. I have to have that conversation, but they do feel that way too. Like, they're all best friends, and Harper's 8 and Brea's 14, and they hang out. They're friends. They do things together. They create together. They do all sorts of fun stuff. And I'm the same as you. That's one of the things I'm most proud of with them. But I'll kind of add on to Brea, and then we'll just kind of go down the kids.
Let me finish my thought.
Oh, yeah.
What I was going to say about Brea is that she very much is the person in our family that sets that tone for that. And so it's a very beautiful thing about her. Like, she leads those kids to that also.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was what I was going to say about Brea. One of the things I love about her is she's the oldest child, right? And normally with oldest children, they're the more responsible ones, right? Or they get that heaped on them a little bit, right? Because, like, if we leave the house to go to the gym or we go to shopping, just you and I, like, we go, hey, Brea, watch the kids, blah, 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 blah. It's just like a natural thing that happens to them. And I've had conversations with her because she doesn't always love that responsibility. And I'm like, honey, but like, there's other benefits to being the oldest kid that you get, right? Like, you're never gonna get a hand-me-down clothing ever, because we don't really do that in our family anyways. But you know what I mean? Like, you get to drive first, you get to have this, blah, blah, blah. There's many things, then like the other kids have these things, and it's just like different rules for different kids almost as you go along. And I think she's kind of really accepted that now. And, and it's like, yeah, they'll get mad because they think that Harper is like the princess of the family and gets away with everything. And I'm just like, you guys, it cracks me up because I'm always like, she's 8. When we treated you guys the exact same way when you were 8. And we're also not going to treat you guys fairly. I think that's the stupidest thing that I ever hear come out of parents' mouths. Mm-hmm. Each kid is individual. Each kid's at different age groups. Each kid needs different things. Each kid wants different things. It's impossible to be quote unquote fair. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I mean, I love, there's so many things about Brea that I love. I just love being around her, actually. I love talking to her. We text back and forth. I love her humor. I love it when she swears because I think it's funny. Mm-hmm. I've taught her how to swear really well. So when she swears, it's poignant and it's not stupid, and it's, and she loves life and she loves being entertained and she loves movies, and, there's a lot of stuff in there that is very similar to me. But, what do you think about Nixon?
So Nixon came out just this like joyful being. And all my kids are, but Nixon was like, he, excuse me, is a full yellow personality. Like, he wakes up literally screaming, wakes up, like, and it just hits the ground and is ready to go. Like, high energy, happy kid. Yeah. He has always been very in tune with me. Like, he just kind of assumes this role of the man of the house when you're not in the house. And he just has this calming energy for me. In a conversation we've had recently where we were discussing about how aware he is, because he, of anyone, like, he has a hard time focusing. So I could ask him to take something to, like, go put this in your room, and he will find 10 other things to do. So that one task could take us all day. And so you kind of, like, I sometimes will be like, oh my God, he's so flighty, but it's not. Like, he is 100% aware of what is going on. He just gets distracted easily. But, but yeah, when you've been on business trips or when you've been gone, like, there's just this energy to him that I seek out because it's very similar to yours.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, him and we've been recently building Legos in the basement every now and again, and I've been buying really big Lego pieces, and I used to sit there with him and actually build them. And we kind of have a system, right? Like, we'd pop one pack, and then I'd lay out all the colors and shapes and stuff so it's easy to grab them. And then almost like doctor, nurse kind of thing, give me a scalpel, and I like hand him one, and he puts it together. But as of recently, the last couple times we've done it, and we go down in the basement, and I normally turn on loud music, and we sing together and laugh. And so now I play guitar while he does it, and I just sing, and because that's what I feel like doing. And he's very happy to sit there and build these massive Legos. And I was telling you this recently, but it was really fun. Because I go, hey, Nixon, what song do you want me to sing? He goes, I want you to sing Rolling in the Deep. You sing that really good, Dad. And so I was like, all right, man. So I turn on Rolling in the Deep, start playing the guitar and start singing at the top of my lungs. And he just sits there and sings along with me. And we just vibe and jam. And, one of the times you girls came down and we had this little roll around whiteboard, and, we played hangman and, just lounged around. But those are some of my favorite memories of our family. And Nixon and I, we went scooting the other day down to Arctic Circle to get some shakes, and that was super fun because I had a speaker with me, so we were listening to music and just singing, and he was kind of leading the way because stupid scooters don't go that fast with me on them, so he's always zipping around me and getting close to me and explaining to me how the scooter works, and just like, hey, come this way, Dad, I like going this way, and I don't know, it's just awesome. It's just awesome being with our kids, and I try not to ever think about that they're going to eventually not be in our home, but...
Mm-hmm. Well, Nixon doesn't think that's happening.
He'll change his mind. I'm glad he does. In fact, one of the funniest mornings, right? I think you were there, right? When I was cooking him whatever breakfast, pancakes or eggs or something like that, right? And I was like handed it out to them, and I used to like line them all up in 3 bar stools, right? I'm like, all right, guys. So listen, when you guys aren't in our home anymore, and all 3 of them like whip their head to us, like, what do you mean, Dad? Why wouldn't we be in your home? You're gonna kick us out of your house? And I was like, no, never mind. You guys can stay here forever. And they're like, oh. Okay. And I was like, way too young to be having this conversation. Because I wanted to be like, when you choose to leave our home, but you also can't have a failure to launch kid either. So we haven't decided what age we're going to boot them yet, but it won't be that old. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So I actually plan on, when they all turn 18, buying a 4-plex for them with them and having them learn how to be a landlord and different things like that. And I hope it sucks for them, so they realize that real estate investing isn't always the best, but or there's a way to do it. Just going and buying one rental is really hard because you become the landlord, and it's kind of like buying yourself a part-time job. But so that'll be fun. But let's talk about little Harps. So I took Harps on a date last night. One of my favorite things about Harper is if she gives me a hug, which she hugs me all the time, she will never, and I mean never, and I've tested this, let go of me first. So if I just hold the same pressure with her, she'll either fall asleep on me or like she'll sit there and hold that hug forever. And I love it. It makes me feel very, very special to be her daddy. So she's also, she loves wearing mascara. Does she wear it every day?
She does. Yeah, probably. If she's going to see someone outside of the family.
Oh, is that the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went on our date last night, and she was wearing mascara, and we get in the car, and I'm talking to her, and I go, "Oh, girl, you got a little mascara on?" She's like, "Yeah, Daddy," blah blah blah. Like, we do this little we play this game between each other, and I started talking to her about makeup, and I said, "Hey, the thing with makeup, like it's kind of fun at your age to try it, but just don't look like a clown, right?" And she goes, "Oh, Dad, I have a couple friends, blah blah this," and she put eyeshadow on and like all this stuff, and she looked like a clown, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of fun. She's like, guess what I do? And I was like, what? And she goes, sometimes I put on a lot of makeup and I just wash it right off.
That is very true. On my towels.
And I'm just like,
stop doing that.
Oh, that's cool, baby. That sounds amazing. So what are your favorite parts of Harper?
All of those things. Harper is, I don't know if this is her personality. I mean, she's always kind of been this way, but most recently she is very in tune with, like, are you sad? And you're like, no, I'm fine. I'm just sitting here. Well, what's wrong? Are you mad? And I'm like, no. And so it's like made me feel self-conscious. Like, do I just have this look on my face? Because she keeps asking me, but she's just, she wants to make sure everyone's okay. Yeah. And so if tensions are high in the family or we're having like a discussion, if you watch her, she's always trying to be it down. Well, how about everyone, calm down or whatever. She always wants to bring it back down to this balance. And she doesn't like to be without her siblings. I'm sure that's been her life, but we took our kids when they were 6. When each of them turned 6, we took them on a Disney trip with just their mom and dad, and she did not want to go. I'm like, you're making this weird. We're trying to force you to go on this trip that every kid in the world would be ecstatic to go on, and she would not go without her siblings. She eventually did, but I think she was older.
Did we just go with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about 6 or 8 months later after her birthday.
And the only reason that she wanted to do it is because she, not really, obviously, because she doesn't have the money to do it, but she supposedly gave that to you, to Mark, for Christmas.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. And then she let me come, thanks.
Yeah.
But it was just.
Is that the way she had to justify it in her mind?
Yeah.
She absolutely loves having her siblings around for sure.
But she very much reminds me of, she reminds me of how I was when I was a little girl. She acts out these, she's got this fake Louis Vuitton purse that you bought and we didn't like. And so she uses it as her purse now. Yeah. And when I picked
people
her
don't
up
realize that fake. They probably think we're real stupid. You're walking around the $4,000 purse.
But I picked her up at her uncle's the other day and she was like, I've been carrying this around because I'm rich. She's just, oh, please don't say that. Because, they think it's a $4,000 purse and then you've got this little 8-year-old girl talking like that. They're probably like, who in that?
I'll tell you one of the things, so we'll kind of switch gears here and give a little bit of advice to people, if you care. And if you don't care, why you listen to this? Turn it off. But we started paying our kids years and years and years ago, probably 6 or 7. So most of Harper's life, it's a tax thing in the tax code that we can pay them basically $12,000 a year. There's no tax, right? And so, and they've been working. They've been they're Instagram models for me. They're they work at the shop. They do different things to kind of earn that money, right? It's not just free, but so we've been putting this money away and investing it for a while, and it's actually a tool that I came up with years ago that I wanted to start building their net worth and then teach them all the different things, like how to do a personal financial statement, how to budget, how to invest, why you buy stocks, why stocks are just represent the company that you're buying into. And there's all these things with that. And I've started teaching the kids that on Wednesdays for homeschool. And I have mapped out their life until they're 25, really. I said, you guys are going to do this. And, at 16, our kids are going to start going to concurrent enrollment through the University of Utah. And we've really, I've really tried, and when I say we, because we talk about this, but I've really tried as I'm teaching them to teach them that their net worth is the most important thing to grow every year, right? Jobs are going to come and go, different opportunities to make money. And you're going to make, some years you're going to make a ton of cash and some years you might not make as much in your cash. But if you keep on growing your net worth every year, you can eventually retire and you can grow your wealth. And then, when they get their inheritance from us, it just gets added into their own personal net worth. And I think that's the best way for us not to create, quote unquote, trust fund babies and stuff like that. Because when we die, all of our wealth's going to our kids. I'm not doing the charity bullshit that some of these parents think that they should. And, but there's also a worry, right? When you leave an inheritance behind that you're going to ruin your kids because you get this massive influx of wealth and then they, do drugs with it or they buy stupid cars. And I really think the only way to combat that is to teach them the value of money and to teach them the value of investing. But when our parents pass away, if they give us any inheritance, it's just going to go right into whatever investment class I'm in. We're not going to go on a vacation with it. We're not going to do anything with it. We're just going to kind of put it into that stuff. And so my advice out there for parents who are listening to this is it has nothing to do with the money that they have or don't have. It's teach your kids how to budget and teach your kids how to grow their net worth. The real side of that net worth thing, right, is, if our kids, by the time, quite frankly, each one of our kids, by the time they're 30, will probably be millionaires, depending on some of their own life choices. But if you have assets of $1 million at 30, you can get loans and you have high credit, and then you can actually look at opportunities that come through your life, especially if you've learned how to make money. You've learned how to do accounting, you've learned how companies work, and it's not the entrepreneurial route. That's good for some people, but it's more of the money as a tool, and I'm going to use money as a tool that it actually is.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think we have done a good job of creating that mindset that money is a tool. And the foundation of our family and the foundation of the love that our family has for each other, the attention that we give our children, and all of that is what will help them to not grow into these trust fund babies or whatever you're talking about, because we don't throw money at them to keep them happy. Mm-hmm. Our life, the way that we live and the things that we have would probably be a little bit different if we didn't have a ton of money. Mm-hmm. But our home life and our family and the relationships that we have with our kids would not be any different or isn't any different than now. We try and give time to our kids. We give love to our kids. If we see that we're struggling and we're in a different, they're going through something, we handle those things, or we're constantly trying to make sure that we're giving them the time and attention that they need.
Yeah. I think we also focus a lot on emotional intelligence, a lot actually, And some people call that mindset or different things, right? But I really want to teach my kids discernment, where they can see when you tell somebody something or you do something to somebody, right, good or bad or anything in between, like they're learning how people react to stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you learn to gather that feedback from their reaction, and that's how you learn to interact with people. In my 42nd year, it blows my mind that people don't look at things in feedback loops. Here's a hot take. You're always in a feedback loop, no matter what, right? So whenever you interact with anything, right, whether you all the way down to what you eat, if you eat things that fuel your body and make your body better, that's the feedback you're getting from your body, right? Mm-hmm. If you feed your body a bunch of shit and you get fat, right, that's also the feedback. You start gaining weight, you're feeding your body things that it's storing as fat. So change that, right? All the way to the way that you interact with people, right? Like if I've been kind and honest for 20 years inside of my businesses, now when I interact with people, I have a reputation out there where it's like, yeah, Mark does what he says. He's a man of his word. Like those are feedback loops, right? Yeah. I'm doing a business deal with a friend of mine named Brett Shell, and we know each other from WAP, but we don't know each other. We didn't grow up together. We've never done business together. And one of the things that Brett did is he talked to every single person that he could talk to that knew me and asked, what I was like and what I was like in business. And every single person, and this is him telling me this after Tut said, they go, I like Mark and he's honest. I've never heard he screwed anybody. I've never heard that he doesn't do what he says. And he's basically telling me, because, we're pretty good friends now. He's just like, dude, that's amazing. Not one person has shit to talk about you when it comes to just business. Yeah. And I actually don't think anyone's even talked any shit to him. I could point him in the right direction to some people that would light me up if he needs, but also those people's opinions don't matter, Mm-hmm. But those are the same principles that I just beat into the kids all the time, right? Like you're honest for you. You're not honest for other people.
Well, and you and I, we grew up in an area of Alpine, Utah, where there's a very wealthy people. Usually had, the mom and the dad were working, so both parents are out of the house, and very wealthy, well-off people. And I think that's where you create these kids who kind of grow up thinking that everything is all about money, is because that's literally what they've been taught, And I love that we did come from not humble backgrounds, but we came from a place where if I needed to work, I would have worked. I would have continued working after, I had kids. And
well, you did. You continued working until we had Nixon.
Yeah. We both have a very high work ethic, and just, and we can have delayed gratification. You know, a lot of the things that we did the first 10 years of our marriage was preparing us for exactly where we are now and making it.
You know what's one funny thing with me is I realize this. So now that I joined this men's group, it's an awesome opportunity to give advice and get advice. We do a lot of masterminds and, you know, because I sometimes I feel like when I talk about my men's group, I'm just constantly giving advice, but I'm not. You know, a lot of the times we're just friends and having fun and doing adventures. But then the way that it's set up in We Are the They is to have opportunities to give advice a lot, right? And it's interesting to me as you're looking at the dynamics between people, like with kids and without kids, and making mistakes and all these different things, right? And I'm telling you, inside that world, delayed gratification is like the most important thing to teach people, because if they don't learn delayed gratification, they take on massive loans and they take on, student loan debt, and there's all these things that they take on that it's like you will pay for that eventually, right? Mm-hmm. And with our kids, you know, like it's kind of funny. I'm actually pretty anti-college. I think college is generally a waste of money, and sure you can put your caveat in there for engineers and doctors and all that kind of stuff, and you absolutely need to go to college for that, but like with our kids, they're actually going to end up having applied associate's degrees by the time they're 18. It's all online, but it's $5 a credit. So it actually makes a lot of sense for us to do that, right? But I look at the world out there and I'm just like, there's just not a lot of confidence. You know, people don't have confidence to start their own companies. That's why they take on partners sometimes, and that's why they get in bad partnerships, because they were with another partner who doesn't really know what they're doing. They don't know how to pick a partner, or, you know, meeting a business partner, and then these businesses blow up and there's all this money wasted and all this efficiency that just like dies all over the place. And like what you were saying, like one of the things that we've actually been really good at is being efficient. And I think it actually has to do with both of us, because I'm a very efficient person. There's no way I could get the stuff done that I do without being like efficient. And we kind of learned that when we were first married, because I worked full time and I went to school full time. And you did the same thing the first couple of semesters, and then you ended up just working full time. And like, you don't have time to mess around in there. You just don't, right? If you're working 12-hour days because you got to go to school the next day, you know what I mean? There's all these different things. And I don't know. I feel like that's some of the best advice we can really give, is just be really, really efficient with your time. It's also being present.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think the best advice to give for people in a marriage?
Overall in the marriage, not.
Yeah. Do communication. Let's say that first, because everyone says that. No, what do you really think?
I think that you and I started on a pretty solid foundation, because we were devoted to each other. We went into it like, this is it.
Yeah.
And that at times was hard. Like but it made us have to work for it, even in the hard times. And it made us have to really dig deep and be like, do I actually want to be with this person? And that has always stood true. And so then I could make anything work with you. And it was about that communication, and it was about choosing you and, you know, pivoting and figuring out what we need, where we need to be, and where you and I are going to thrive. So my best advice in a marriage is, you definitely need to pick the right person. And I also feel a little fraudulent in saying that, because I was 19 years old when I met you. And, you know, if I went down this checklist of things that I was looking for, you actually don't really, like, what you actually are was very different than what I thought you were. Do you know what I mean? But it all still positive, obviously. Yeah. And what I did know is that you from what I could tell, you are a good person and you're a good man. And so through all of these years of us being together, that has always held true. Like, I know you to be good. And that brings the respect that I have for you, that brings the love that I have for you, that brings the devotion, and I want to be with you. And so, yes, find a good person, but mostly you're just trying to find someone that will fight with you for the rest of forever, because there's just going to be things. There's going to be hard things and hard times. There's going to be kids that come in that change that. Like, that very much changed the dynamic of you and I. And it probably took, I would say, 5 years of us having kids after, of us trying to recalibrate and come back to each other, because you're trying to, make sure, fulfill all of your responsibilities and make sure that we have everything moving that way. I am trying to take care of these 3 kids and be all the things and everything at home. And so you need to find a good person. You need to find someone who is going to work at this with you. And then you just have to love them unconditionally. And that is a choice to do that. And if you've found a good person, that choice should be simple, even though you're going to go through hard things. And even though, there's going to be things that you don't like or whatever, you choose that. And all these choices that you make, you can't fall out of love if you always choose that.
Yeah. So. No, I agree. One of the things Dr. Jordan Peterson said recently, right, is like a marriage is coming together and saying you won't leave. Mm-hmm. And it was weird when I heard that from him for the first time, because I was like, it like really hit me hard. I was like, yeah, dude, that's like the problem with people. They just bounce, mm-hmm. And and don't get me wrong. There's people that should get divorced, mm-hmm. right? But if we're being honest as a society, people get out of marriages way too quickly.
Yeah, but right? And I also think it's that, like, if you both aren't committed to it, like, why keep trying to make something work? You need.
Well, yeah, but if you make kids together, right? Like, it's a different game, right? Like, you've got to just kind of, I don't know. They're so individual, right? Like, everything. It's funny because I say, I basically, don't work it out, don't get divorced, right? And like, everyone's divorced. It's kind of like, well, mine was, yes, mm-hmm. you're special. You know what I mean? Like, but it's not even that. It's that choice. It's really that thing, right? It's one of the things I hear about is like, I'll hear that, a man's quote unquote addicted to pornography. So then his wife's like, and that's not good for me. So I'm out. And it's like, that is some weak ass shit. Like, there's also the reality of it is, whether, no matter what you think, and I should just say most likely, you're going to go through things in your marriage that you never expected to happen, right? Some of them are out of your control, and they're hard. So you either choose to be with that person and love them unconditionally and go through them with their hard times, right? Even if it's ugly, or you don't, and then you got to like restart with someone else. And then I think that the dark side of moving on to greener pastures, right, is that like, number one, it doesn't guarantee it's going to be better. It doesn't guarantee you're not going to have the same problems, right? And then generally when people are, get divorced and get remarried, they have a whole bunch of baggage that comes along with that. And baggage is kind of a coarse word for it, because there's also some joyful things, like children and like good experiences and stuff like that. But, if you've gone through a traumatic breakup with a partner and you're on to the next one, like, you're bringing some of that, and that has to be dealt with. And there's a lot of conversations that have to be had, and a lot of understanding, and a lot more unconditional love. And so I think that's why I think the second marriage divorce rate is actually higher than the original one, because I think people get out of a relationship, they get into another quick one, and they're just not quite learning how to do a relationship, where a lot of just doing a relationship is just committing to that person. And hopefully that person never takes you to a breaking point. But I don't know, just an observation that I've had throughout life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think another thing that we did really, really well is we have defined gender roles. That is wildly unpopular right now. I don't know what the hell's going on in our country, but like people just hate gender. It's like, F you, if you don't live like me, go to hell.
I actually don't, I would say that, yes. But I just feel like we are both, like this is a partnership and we are on a team. And if I see something lacking in anywhere, even if it's a defined male gender, responsibility, then I would try and help in that area too. Like, I think it's just dedication.
Well, it's funny though, right? Because it wasn't like you and I sat down and I went, me man, you woman, you do dishes. You know what I'm saying? Like we never did that. Yeah. We actually, we never even had a conversation about this, really. I mean, well, that's not true. We've had 1,000 conversations about this because we just are committed to each other. We just pivot. Hey, this, blah, 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 Like I remember asking you when I don't know if we were dating. We were probably dating, but I said, what's your dream? And you're like, my dream is to be a mom. Right? And I was like, oh, cool. It wasn't like I want to be a CEO or I want to be, in the C-suite or, I like to bash on that stuff, but it was like, that's what you wanted to be. And so I took exactly what you said and it was like, yeah, and I don't know if I even said this, but like, I was like, okay, if you want to be a mom, let's do it, And so then as soon as we could afford it, you became a stay-at-home mom. And then, we were kind of doing all that stuff and you were sending the kids to school, and while the kids were at school early on, right? Like you would clean the house and duh, you're at home. You know what I mean? Like it just, all those things just kind of naturally fit, right? But it's like, if I needed to do something, I would step in, or you could just ask me, or, whatever. Right. But now it's funny because people will look at, I think generally people look at us and go, they have a really good marriage and they've done a lot of things right, especially if they inquire into our world and we kind of share it with them. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this works really well for you. And then people will say, why? And it's like, and I give them a short answer. It's like, define gender roles. And it like pisses people off. And it's really funny to watch, right?
Well, that's just also true. Like where communication comes in too, is if I think that you're the one that should be going out and having the oil changed in the cars and that kind of thing, and you're not doing that, then I talk to you about it. And I'm like, who's going to be the one to do this? Like there's also not like,
or even I don't want to do this, you do it.
Done because I'm too stubborn and to talk to you about it if it needs to get done. Yeah.
Well, we're also on the same page. I say this to people all the time, right? They'll come over and be like, your house is so clean. It's so lucky you got Michelle doing this. I'm like, you think I wouldn't clean this thing if I wasn't home? But if this was my house by myself, it would be just as spotless. Yeah. But yes, Michelle does clean, and I have not done laundry in 15 years. But by the way,
why
gents,
haven't you done laundry?
By the way, gents, the key to that is to take your wife's favorite clothes and shrink the shit out of them. I think it was the third time. Actually, iPods is what I was talking about, washing iPods.
You washed the second one, and I was like, you see this place right here?
I wish my rep on
come in here.
I wish my rep on the street was as intentional. I actually, honestly, just didn't pay attention every single time I washed and killed an iPad, which by the way is back when we didn't have that much money. So it was like, hey, this is getting really expensive. But yeah, I mean, we used to joke around. You're like Monica on Friends, like, and you are, it's your personality. You like things a certain way. And, I think we've had friends at the house, and I think they've like jokingly been like, hey, why don't you help with this, blah, blah, or do this. And I'm just like, because Michelle doesn't want me to. Trust me, guys, I know my marching orders. If she wants me to do something, she will tell me and I will go do it. Yeah, exactly. Because then I tell her the things that I want and she'll perform for me or whatever.
There was a time period where Mark would come home from work and go to change his pants into like gym shorts or something. And on the way to the closet, the pants would be like just in the exact position where Mark could stick both his feet in the legs and pull them right back up.
Efficient.
Like 5 feet from the closet. That's when I used the bro. Hey, bro.
Well, yeah, dude. I also used to leave towels everywhere. It's been years since I've done that. So I got a stern talking to one time about leaving my wet towel in your bed. I was like, isn't it our bed? But no, when I'm doing something wrong, it's her bed.
Probably my side of the bed.
That's like one of my favorite things when people are like, your kids are acting up. And I'm like, oh, shit. People are in trouble. If it's not our kids, it's your kids. They're in trouble.
Yeah.
Little telltale sign. So what are we going to do for the next 20 years?
Get old.
Yeah. Anything else? Can we do some fun stuff?
And enjoy it. We're going to travel. We're going to take our kids places, let them.
You know what's funny? We say
world.
We're going to travel a lot, and we will. We will actually absolutely travel a lot. But we're also at the point right now where we're like, hey, next year, let's not travel at all. Like, I've been all over the world. I've been to Africa, Iceland, with my men's group, and you've been with me on a lot of those trips. Brazil, Argentina. You went to Iceland with me. You went to Spain. Mm-hmm. And we're literally leaving to Greece like in a week, less than a week, and that's gonna be fun because we're taking our kids with us. But I don't know. We have lived a really good life so far, and we've earned it. And but I think we do need to do another 3 or 4 years where we're kind of the Lake Powell a couple times a year family, take the boat out.
Yeah.
Just because our kids are little, and unless they're with us, I don't really want to travel the world all that much.
Mm-hmm. Well, Greece is going to be the biggest trip we've ever taken our kids on. And of all the places they've ever been, they'll always say Lake Powell is their favorite.
Yeah. So. We might one-up it with Greece. If we don't, that's going to be a little sad.
Yes.
It's kind of like when we took them we used to take our kids to Disneyland, and one year we bought annual passes, so we went 3 times that year, which for us is way too much. But I remember the third time we went was right before they expired, and I don't know, it's like 5:00 in the afternoon. We're in line for cars, which is massive. And Nixon just looks up at me and goes, "Hey, Dad, can we go back to the hotel and play on our iPads?" I looked at you and I was just like, "Okay, we're done with Disneyland. I'm gonna take a break from this place. If an iPad's more exciting than being at freaking Disneyland,
yeah, exactly.
We're spoiling these kids." But I also just love our family right now. I mean, I always have, and I'm sure I always will. But like, I love like what we talked about, like having the sleepovers, and like just our kids are so innocent and sweet and learning, and we've had sex talks with all 3 of them now, and those are wild. And I think our report card so far on being parents is really good. So it's not without fault, but
yeah,
we've pivoted out of those.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I would agree. I'm very proud of what we've created. I don't know if there was like a distinct time that I made this decision or that we made this decision, but we've done a very good job of just always being honest. So if our kids are bringing a conversation to us or bringing a conversation up, that is the time we got to have it. So there was never like, oh, I'm not ready to talk about this. And it sucks sometimes. Like you brought up the sex talk, you don't actually, I don't want to take their innocence and have that conversation. Like that's not something I wanted to do, but it came to a time where it was time to have that conversation. And so, but we've always been honest. Like we didn't placate our kids by being like, no, there's no candy. We told them, yeah, there's candy in the house. You can't have it because we're having dinner. Or I explained the actual reason of why we could or could not do something and was just honest. And so I think we've created this just open dialogue that I really, really hope, I don't know, but I really, really hope our kids would come to us about anything. And we're able to have an honest, open conversation and things aren't weird. And just, I think sometimes you, as a kid, I know I felt this way, that you feel alone and there's no one who understands what you're going through inside of your head, and or you have something you do need to talk to somebody about, and it's you don't have a person you feel safe with to go to.
Yeah.
So
that's actually a major concern of ours, is that we just blow open that line of communication with our kids all the time. So it's just this place they just come to freely, and it's easy for them. And
yeah.
I mean, I prep them all the time. It's like, hey, if this could happen, don't make your life harder by lying to me, because it doesn't matter what you've done. If you tell me the truth, I'll walk you through this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even if you lie to me a couple of times along the way and then decide to fix it. But if you knock me off kilter to where I don't know what's real or not, then it's really hard for me to help you.
Yeah.
And then I think they understand that, right? Like one of the times when I was in the car, I think it was with Brea, I was doing a little follow-up with her. She hates talking about sex, which is funny. She thinks it's gross, which is good. And I was just like, hey, what do you think about that sex talk? Just kind of like being open with her and stuff. And she goes, I don't understand why people have sex. And I go, it's because it feels good. And she was like, it feels good? And I go, yes, your body is created so it has nerve endings all over the place. And then when you rub them, or however that works, right? I'm trying to be gentle with her. It feels good. That's why people do it a lot. There's a lot of fulfillment in that. I go, but the backside of that is if you do it with the wrong people, you'll emotionally connect with them, and you do not want that. The good feeling that comes from the sex of act is it's not the good trade-off to be emotionally connected to someone that you don't want to be emotionally connected to. Yeah. And, she's like, oh, okay, but like, to me, that's like full explanation, right? Like when we grew up, right? Like, people would just be like, oh, it's evil, it's bad, until it wasn't. And all of a sudden it was like, they're celebrating you doing it all the time. And it's like, I feel a little bit of whiplash.
Thank you.
A little bit of whiplash. And hopefully Andrew Brere's laughing at that. But yeah, I just love giving my kids like a full answer on things. Because I felt like every time in my life when I was given a full answer, I could then take that information and kind of run with it.
Right.
But hey, we're gonna end the podcast with both of us giving advice. I'm gonna go first because I want people to listen to you, and I want you to be the last. One of the harder parts when we were going through our marriage, you said to me, you didn't protect our marriage, and I actually think that one line was so impactful to me, and it's an advice that I've given to a couple of people, and I like to give it generally to everybody, that one of the bars that you should always judge yourself on is if you're protecting your marriage, right? Or the things that you're doing, the things that you're saying, the actions in your life, are you protecting your marriage? I actually think that it's a very good barrier to know if you're doing the right thing or not. And I would just employ people that they need to think about that and be cognizant about that and make sure that that's part of their life.
Awesome.
What's your advice?
My advice is really just what I said earlier. And that is to choose each other and choose your family. And so it really does go along those lines. I think that when you and I chose to have kids, and we've brought these kids into our lives, we owe them that. We owe them not just having a mom and dad together. We owe them showing them what real love is and devotion is. And if we can do that, we really can't steer them wrong in their choices, and we can let them be authentically exactly who they are and want to be. Yeah. For marriage advice, I would just say that just choose love, and that is what it is. Love is a choice to do that, and communicate, like overly communicate. it is funny that is like the number one hot topic, like, well, communication. But, I want to know you 100%. And I love that even after 20 years, we can have conversations where I need you to tell me how you feel about something. Or there are things that I still don't know about you and I still am discovering about you. And I feel overwhelmingly grateful to have found you, and I just want to be with you on this journey forever.
Awesome, baby. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I love you to death.
Love you to death.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.